All right. So on the Hardy Wrestling Podcast, I have the incomparable, the super talented, and really amazing Josiah Williams, aka Wrestle and Flow. Josiah, how are you?
That was too kind of an introduction, just first and foremost. But I'm doing all right. I'm feeling good. How about you?
I'm doing good. Just got off from work and then just finished another news thing for wrestling. So I'm doing fine. And I'm just happy to be talking to you right now.
The
I
cycle just continues. You get off of work and you get back to work.
Yes. That's the life right there. So I'm gonna start this interview how I always start my interviews, and that's asking, when did you fall in love with wrestling?
I fell in love with it before I was able to watch it. Um, so at some point in the 90s, I learned what WWE was, and I learned who was it? Probably Undertaker, Kane, The Rock, somebody. And I remember the interest. I remember seeing the people play video games, like my cousins and stuff. And I'm like, this seems dope. Who is Kane? Like, there's so many questions. And I remember trying to bring it into my house. And my mom was like, nah, absolutely not. That's not happening here. So I fell in love with it, yeah, at some point in the 90s, and then kind of forgot about it. And as I got a little older, mom's like, yeah, you can watch it as long as you don't start doing some of this stuff and saying some of this stuff. Um, so I officially started watching like right after the Attitude Era, essentially.
Okay.
I missed a lot of the good stuff.
Yeah, that's a pretty fun and interesting place to start because during the 90s a lot of people say they start right in the middle of the Attitude Era or right at the beginning. And for me, I started in the midst of the Monday Night War, and it was
Okay,
just
okay,
me and my dad. He and I would watch it together at my grandma's house and then at home and stuff. And he would tape both of the shows back to back, Raw and Nitro. And
okay.
my first match was Hulk Hogan and Goldberg at the I almost said the Thunderdome, the Georgia Dome. And that was basically my foray into it, and I was like 4 years old. And when I
Wow.
was a child, I wanted to be a Nitro girl because every time they would come on TV, I would dance with them. So
Oh, nice. Okay,
yeah, it
okay.
was kind of a thing. So ever since then, I've just been into it. And there was a point where I did stop, but then I started back again around 2002, which was kind of
Okay.
like ruthless aggression era. So that's, a really
Yeah.
great place to start back. So that's
Yeah.
interesting. You said your mom, wasn't really, gung ho about you watching it. Like, was there a specific reason why?
I mean, I grew up in a household that was like, first of all, I'm a minister's kid, so that probably says a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But we watched we watched PBS as a family. We watched Magic School Bus. She's like, Monday Night Who? Nah, no, absolutely not. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine because I watch PBS too. I'm a PBS kid. It is okay. I mean, I love now my parents weren't ministers or anything like that, but PBS was a cool channel. Like Arthur
Oh
and
yeah.
Between the Lions and all of that. Those were my shows. To this
Yeah.
day, like I have very fond memories of PBS. So I
I
totally
still
get
feel
it.
weird about Arthur being canceled, not canceled, but ending
Oh my
after
god,
what,
me
25?
too. Um,
Yeah.
mm, it has one of the best theme songs of all time.
All time.
All time, like
All time.
seriously. Like if you hear it, it just warms your soul every time you hear it. But we'll talk
Yep.
more about theme songs a little bit later. So when exactly did you fall in love with hip hop though? And music, period, but definitely hip hop.
um so I grew up a fan of actually pop music. I remember my first, like, as my own self and not like what my mom and them listened to. For that, it was mostly R&B, gospel, etc. But I remember for myself, I just instinct Backstreet Boys, just gravitated to both, especially Backstreet Boys, right? And so we lived in a few different places in Milwaukee. Um, And then we moved when I was about 6 or 7. And I clearly remember hearing that Juvenile song. Like that Juvenile song. And something about the 99 and the 2000. At that point in my life, I said, well, what do we have over here? What is this? Yeah. So, but after that, what? That comes in with the 4 or 5 second mark of that song, Cash Money Records. I said, excuse me? Well, I need to know a little bit about what's going on. So that's really what it was for me. And I can't make that up. That's legit what it was for me. Not saying that I didn't hear hip hop before that, but it was like, this was the first thing that made me really take it in as my own. And I don't know, I can't tell you, but young Josiah Williams was like, girl, you look good. What you
That's a pretty fun way and a pretty amazing story as to how hip hop came into your life.
Yeah.
See, my story is a little bit crazier because since I was raised also with my grandparents and also my parents really didn't listen to a whole lot of hip hop. And then when I was in the car with my mom and my grandparents, they played a lot of gospel. Because I guess they didn't want me to be, fully exposed to everything so quickly. So for a long time, all I listened to was gospel and Disney soundtracks. And it wasn't until way later where I experienced hip hop and all of that. And the first, exposure I had to hip hop, this is gonna sound real funny, but it was the Dexter's Laboratory album where they had hip hop music on there.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Like that was a real thing, and I'm not sure. I don't know if a lot of people even remember that or even know that. But
I did not
Dexter's
know that at
Laboratory
all.
had, because Cartoon Network had like these segments that they would show in between commercials where they do music videos with different genres of music, and
Right.
they would come on, and then I remember Will.i.am was on the TV. And he started rapping this song, said, I got a secret formula. It's a little bit of hot and a little bit of hoe. And I was like, whoa.
Hey.
And I remember loving that so much that I think I made my dad buy me the CD, and I still have the CD, I think. And I would listen to it in my Hello Kitty radio. And that was really the first time I ever really experienced, hip hop. And it was really clean. It was squeaky clean. And I remember Coolio was on the album and a whole bunch of other people. But
Yeah.
that was really the first time I ever experienced hip hop like that. But of course, I've realized way later that it's so much more and it's so much more vast, and it gets bigger and bigger. But
Yes.
that's kind of started what it was. And then it was also Outkast too that kind of did it for me. Outkast and
Okay.
Kanye, that sort of did it for me as well the older I got. So yeah, that's my
Yeah.
story
Yeah.
with it. But I'm still finding out stuff about hip hop each and every day because I didn't start off with it, so everything is new to me
Yep.
almost every day. So it's fun though, because you always learn. So I love
Yeah.
that. But I definitely love gospel and R&B. Definitely. Those are my
Yeah.
first two.
No, you actually, I mean, what you said of you learn something kind of almost every day is how I feel, especially, I mean, in both areas of wrestling, of music, just entertainment as a whole. I had, even when I wasn't kind of like, I guess, what word would that be, protected by my parents, you know, when I finally started to get into things on my own, it was really like I find a solid little group of things that I stick with it. So there are still times where it's like, all right, I got to go back and I got to watch this, or I got to listen to this, or I got to see this, or there's so much movies, everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and even with gospel, that had hip hop in it too, because Kirk Franklin was all I listened to as a
Oh
child.
yeah.
And so I had no clue that was what he was doing in terms of rapping. I just thought that was just him just being this cool dude talking about Jesus all the time. And
That's
but
actually a good example. I like that.
yeah, and so but then the older you get and the more exposed you are to hip hop, the more you realize, all of it sort of influences everything. even, the Christian things. So that's just, an amazing thing. So had you
Yeah.
always had an artistic and musical flair, growing up? And did you also have a support system with that once you realized that was your gift?
Always. So I didn't even really realize um, how much of it was embedded in my life. When I look back at baby pictures of, you know, 2 years old, I have a microphone in my hand, listening to music, and the schools that I went to for both, basically kindergarten all the way through 8th grade, they were arts-based schools. So music, dance, theater, uh, painting, like visual art, that everything was embedded into my school life from, an early age. And I think that was very intentional with my mom too, of realizing the things that I would do at home and my interests. It's like, all right, we want him to be smart, but we want him to express himself at the same time. So big shout out and huge credit, of course, to my mother for putting me in those schools. Without that, I don't know where I would be.
Okay, so it seems like, you had a great support system in that type of thing. And that's really great cuz some families, are kind of hesitant to let their children sort of participate in the arts because they feel like, oh, there's no future in that and you're not going to get a job and it's not the most practical choice and all that other stuff.
Right.
But, if you're able to express yourself artistically, then that opens the doors for a lot of different things because everyone, doesn't necessarily have the whole math and science type, STEM type brain. So I find me neither, not at all. So so it's just when it comes to exposure to the arts and humanities, I feel like it's really important to help that shape a child because that could, make the difference for them. It could expose them to more stuff outside of what they're surrounded by. It can give them an outlet to express their, emotions or their feelings, and it can keep them out of trouble too. So I'm really
100%.
glad that you had that exposure. I had that exposure too because when I was in school, I took ballet in kindergarten. I took
Okay.
Yeah, I also took hip hop, in middle school, hip hop dance, and I sang in the choir a lot and at church and everything. So, and I got my Bachelor of Arts degree in music too. So I sing
Okay.
a
Okay.
little bit, but that's basically, kind of like my thing.
Hmm.
Out of the way you're
Let me
looking at
write that down.
yeah. People always do that and I just get kind of uneasy like, "Oh god."
Ah,
Should I have said
okay.
that? But yeah.
Ah,
Uh,
I'll just be sending a few emails after this conversation, but we'll get to that. We'll get to
yeah,
that
we'll
later.
get to that. So, what were some of your greatest challenges in pursuing, your music career?
It's a really good question. I think a part of it was humbling myself and understanding that as I was getting into it, I'm one of those people who, when I get into something, I'm more ambitious than tactical. Um, and what I mean by that is, I think I was kind of upset in the beginning of like, man, I worked so hard on this stuff. This is like, at college, early on. Um, I get so stuck on things that when I would get criticism, I would take it personally, or thinking like, oh man, I'm popular, so people should be listening to my music. People should be loving and supporting and buying. And um, I had a few of those moments in my life, middle school, high school, college, and I think that was one of the biggest challenges of just take your time, learn, get better, and improve, and be committed to just taking advice from people. And once I really understood that, that really helped shape who I became as an artist, and not just by making music, but listening to production, the writing process, the recording process, the artistry outside of the artistry, with the cover art and all that. There's so much that goes into it, that you just have to be willing to be patient, and you have to be humble in the midst of all of it. So I would say that.
Yeah, those are good lessons to learn because even though I know, even with me and my podcasting, it's like you have to understand that it's a marathon and not a sprint. That's something I've taken from Nipsey Hussle and my boyfriend because he says it all the time. Like, it's a
Yeah.
marathon, not a sprint. Like, it's okay. Just keep working. But
Yep.
I'm finding that having patience and putting the work in does reap its benefits even when you're just starting. Like, there's always a lesson to learn and there's always ways for you to get better, and you can still enjoy the journey as well. So that's pretty good that that you were actually able to sort of take that with you in terms of your music career, because sometimes I find, depending on who's, telling the story from their experience, it can be very ego driven, but then once you're able to sort
Yeah.
of take yourself out of it, take you out of it and realize that it's a lot deeper than that, then you're able to sort of, fly and succeed while still going on the journey. So that's really great.
Yeah.
So, in following you on Instagram and on YouTube these past few years, and on Twitter as well, I have seen that you are a man of faith. And you also mentioned that, you come from a minister's family. So, how does your faith sort of motivate you to keep going in life?
It's everything. 100%. I so yeah, I grew up in a household where mom was preaching on Sundays sometimes, or on maybe even different days of the week. And as I got into um, late middle school, a little bit of early high school, I kind of like drifted away from that. Not saying that I stopped believing. It was just that's your whole life. That's everything in life at that point. Um, and as a teenager, you start to realize, like, man, I'm tired of going to church. Like, I'm tired of church. So there were a few of those moments of just having to refine my faith after a while. And I think late high school and a few different moments through college, and especially my senior year in college, is when I really understood just God's love and what God represents and what this earth is and why I'm here. And I think so. When I was in college, I started to do just like hip hop and R&B. So, and it was fun. It was cool. I had a lot of really good opportunities that came out of it. Opened up for a few artists. It was really fun. But I felt like I could have been doing more. And I felt like my artistry, it's art, is cool, but what is the meaning behind it? And what am I really trying to showcase? So I switched over from hip hop to Christian hip hop, which gave me a focus. And it was something that it's like, if I'm living as this on a day to day anyway, then why am I not putting it into my art? Um, and that's a big part of why, I don't have a stage name. It's just Josiah Williams. Of if this is who I am, and if my art is a reflection of who I am, I don't want a gimmick. I just want to present it as that. And if my faith is a big part of who I am, then I need to showcase that. So faith is huge, and I think it's just kind of like you said earlier. You continue to learn and you continue to grow. Every day is a new day with God. Every day is a new day in my walk with Jesus. So it's like, put that into the art, put that into the tweets, put that into the posts, put it everywhere.
Yeah, and I appreciate that because I'm a woman of faith as well. So it's just in my walk, my in my family, I have a few ministers, but for the most part it was just my grandma who was taking me to church all the time. And as I got older, I always felt that God was always there, but then the older you get and the harder life tends to get, the more you realize that a lot of it, that you're really going to need him. So
Hmm. Hmm.
as I go through life and everything that I try to do, I always try to ask him first, because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't do anything, like I can't, make it without him. That's just how I feel. I have to ask him about everything, even the most mundane things, and even the bigger things, and I just ask him, to protect me as I go and to just continue to, bless me, and just thanking him always, for everything that he's done and for protecting me from a lot of things, because I've been through a lot, as we all do in life, but I feel like
Mhm.
I would not have been able to come out on the other side as I am, today if it weren't for him. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
even down to this podcast and the mission of the podcast as well, just to be more positive and to give more of a chill atmosphere and stuff like that. Like that, my spirituality also goes into that as well, because I feel like there's a way that you can talk about things without being so all the time and being so aggressive all the time. So a lot of that, with that comes a level of peace. So
Yeah,
that's what I
yeah.
try to put forth as well. And I admire you for doing that. Even with your larger platform when you were with WWE, you still did that. And I greatly admire you for that. You never stopped that. You stayed consistent. And I really
Well,
admire that.
thank you. And that was intentional. Um, because I noticed, I mean, just like when you go to any job, right? There are always going to be things that stress you out. We, as the outside now looking in, we see how stressful it is for the world of entertainment and the world of professional wrestling. So I'm like, all right, if I can contribute in different ways, not just through music, not just through announcing or being on air, but like sometimes people at work and people at home just need encouragement. And if they're not getting it, who knows where they're getting it from? Maybe they're not getting it at all. A a tweet encouraging people, or a song that encourages people, or me retweeting somebody else's encouraging messages. Like, you never know what people are dealing with, and if you have that platform to just to showcase a different side of the world and a different viewpoint than what most people are, just controversy and struggle, and that stuff takes away mentally. Like, give people something to hope for and give people different messages, just to be able to connect with. So yeah.
Most definitely. So, when did you decide to combine your love of music and your love of performing with wrestling? And when did you exactly come up with the term wrestle and flow and decide to make that into a thing? Because that's where everyone sort of first saw you and sort of started going viral and stuff. And I was just like, who is this guy? What? How did that happen?
So in general, I thought of the idea of like remixing theme songs a while ago, well before Wrestle and Flow, of just something that I wanted to do for fun and put on YouTube. And I never really got to it. I knew I was not the first one. I didn't really know who else was doing it. I knew it was a thing because of like, the Aggression album and other people who just like put stuff out there. But I don't know. It was an idea that I had for a while, and I just never really did anything with it. Initially, it was going to be kind of like a video mixtape where I take 7 people and make a song for them, make it, whatever, drop it as a mixtape, and then come back a year or two later or something like that. And there was one day, it was right after I had just finished an album or like a tour or something, whatever it was. And I'm like, all right, I need to just de-stress. I need to find something else to create that's not the structure of a Christian hip hop album right now. I can't do it. So I remembered the idea of just remixing theme songs. And I started playing around with AJ Styles' theme song. I started playing around with the Usos, with Carmella. And I recorded AJ's. I never used it. I didn't like it. I couldn't come up with anything for the Usos, couldn't come up with anything for Carmella. And then I started watching NXT, and the Undisputed Era pops up, and I'm like, I have so much to say about this whole situation right now. um, so I recorded that, and then I also, just playing around, did one for the Gorillas of Destiny, New Japan at the time. Well, I mean, still, and just put it on YouTube. I didn't think of anything. I just decided to put it on YouTube. I at some point came up with the idea of Wrestle and Flow. Well, obviously a play on Hustle and Flow. Um, and within minutes, it was it people saw it, and it was scary. It was very, very, very crazy. Um, I tell people all the time, I decided to randomly post it at 11 a.m. on a Friday or whatever day it was, and Within 7 minutes, Roderick Strong saw it. Within 11 minutes, Adam Cole saw it. Within a couple hours, Kyle O'Reilly saw it. Within a few hours after that, Bobby Fish saw it. And then by that night, this is all within the span of one day. That night, I got, or no. It was either that night or the next day. I got a message from the person who would end up becoming my supervisor at WWE. And he's just like, hey, this is really cool. I like that. Would you want us to, we would love to give you some merch to wear in your videos. Cause I don't remember what I wore for the Undisputed Era video, but it wasn't an Undisputed Era shirt. I didn't own one. And it also wasn't like a black and yellow anything. It was probably just like a WWE logo or just a black and white. I don't remember what it was.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like, if you're going to be doing these videos, then wear some of the merch for free. And I was like, cool. He said, we'll set up a call. That call happened, and it's like, I was just expecting to just give him my address and, we can talk about WWE shop. But he's like, well, what do you want to do? What are your goals? What are your dreams? Either in wrestling or just kind of in life. And that call led to a Monday Night Raw, and then NXT, and then a year later, obviously being in WWE. But it was just to specifically answer the question. It was just a random idea of wanting to do something that brought all this stuff together, but it was just stress-free. I didn't want to be stressed out. That's what it was.
See, the first time I noticed you, it was on Facebook, because I was in a Facebook group involving wrestling. And then someone, I believe the first one I saw of you was when you I'm trying to think, I think you did Samoa Joe. And that was the first one I had ever seen. And I just remember looking like, this dude really made a rap song to go with his theme. That's the coolest thing I've ever seen, And ever since then, I was just like, man, like, I hope now I didn't know what was in the works at that point, because I didn't even know you had even done one previously or done, one for it on the Undisputed Era. But at that point, I was just like, you know what? I hope that he goes somewhere with this and it's cool. And I just remember thinking that, and then I found you on YouTube and found you on social media. And then I had just been following you ever since. And I loved how passionate you seemed about, I could tell that you were really passionate about what you were rapping about, because you were rapping about them as in terms of their characters. But then there's also the fact that I love wrestling themes so much that it felt so cool to see someone, sort of combine all of their rap skills with wrestling themes that I listened to, or I may or may not have listened to before, never really paid that much attention to before. So I thought that was just the coolest thing ever, like when I saw that. And so to see you go on and become a part of, WWE, that just made me even happier, because I'm just like, oh my God, he's doing the thing. Like, this is great. Like, he's going to perform and this is going to be it. And this is going to be great, and that's just how I felt about it. I was just so happy about it. So what are some of your favorite wrestling themes, personally?
At the top of the list is Broken Dreams, Drew McIntyre. That is just I remember the moment when that song debuted, and I was like just a savage on the internet trying to find it. Where is it? Where can I find it? And they knew what they were doing. It took like months for that song to come out. I think it's a perfect sound. I think it's perfect for his kind of like slow, methodical entrance at that time. I think it just represented him as a character very well. The same with Voices, Randy Orton. The same with Evolution, the faction. That was just another really, really, really good theme song. Batista's was great. And that's a good point too. Of like, wrestling was really my introduction into rock. I wasn't listening to any type of rock or metal or anything like that.
Yeah, me too.
Still don't really. But it was a different side of music, and you're attaching it to these characters. I grew up a theater student, so I see like you're piecing together characters and telling a story through music and through the entrance. So yeah, I mean, shoot, I can give you a list of so many, but those are the few that come to mind immediately, that from the beginning until now of I just immediately fell in love with it. Yeah.
Yeah, wrestling was sort of my introduction into rock as well. So it's so funny that I feel like I never would have liked Godsmack or any other rock band came out during that time if it were not for wrestling at all.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna actually say some of my favorite wrestling themes because I don't think I've ever said this on my show. So
Okay. Okay.
some of my favorite wrestling themes, I loved China's wrestling theme. Don't treat me like a woman,
Okay.
just treat me for who and what I am. That is my song. Um, and I really love
Yeah.
Shawn Michaels. I love his theme. That is the coolest.
Classic.
Yes. And I love Triple H's theme, and I also definitely love the Evolution theme. Like those are two of my favorite, and I actually came to appreciate Motorhead because of that. Um,
Yeah.
and right now, I really love the Usos theme song because it's just like every time they come out, it's just so hard. Like it just goes so hard for no reason at all, and it
Oh,
just fits them and who they are. It's just like yes, perfect.
yeah.
So those
That's another
are
good example, man. When
yes.
that first hits, it was like they got a new theme.
Right.
Oh,
Right. And it's
that
not
was
that their
great.
first theme was bad, because their first theme was really cool too, where they did the haka, before,
Yep.
and then the song would come out, and then they would say, I'm on top, and then they say it's out of my reach, it's so close. Yeah, like I liked that song, but I really love the song
Yeah.
that they have now because it just hits every time you hear it. Um
Hmm.
and plus they have sibling power, and I just, I love the whole sibling thing because I have a sister. So um
Okay. Okay.
shout out to her. But yeah, like those are a couple of my favorite themes, and I love the New Day theme as well because I mean that's just 90s gospel music at its finest right there. Like that's really all the New Day theme is. It's just anything that Kurt Franklin would have made in the 90s. That's just what
Right.
it sounds like. So
Everybody,
it's
put your hands together.
yes. That's perfect. That's exactly what it is. And I just love it so, so deeply. So it's my dream that one day Kirk Franklin will actually do an entrance with them. That's my
Yes,
dream.
it has to happen.
It has to happen. It just has to. Like if they ever hear this or see this, they must know that I want this to happen. Them and Kirk Franklin and a choir or a praise team do come out at WrestleMania and do a thing, please. Or at
Yep.
any big
Yep.
four and do a thing. That would make me so happy. We've had Yolanda Adams. We can get Kirk Franklin. Okay. Um
We did have Yolanda.
So you did mention that the Undisputed Era did see your Undisputed Era rap. So that basically answers one of the questions that I have for you. So what other wrestlers actually saw or noticed you, as you were rising with the Wrestle and Flow channel and everything else?
There were quite a lot. Um, I mean, almost everyone. There were a few, like I don't know if, well, Bailey did. It was just later on in life. Saw hers. She when I met her, Sasha was like, "Yeah, this is the guy who remixed my theme song." She was like, "Why didn't you remix mine?" I was like, "I did." I was like, I mean, I don't mean to put you, but I did do it. I'll send it to you or something. uh, I don't know if Shinsuke. I think he eventually saw his, but yeah, there were a few people that didn't respond, which I wasn't doing it for the purpose of them to like say it. As I started to see that they were responding to it, it was like, oh, that's cool. Hopefully they do. But yeah, a lot of people. I think the people that really gravitated towards it, Matt Riddle sent me a few messages. Adam Cole sent me a few messages after his. Jinder Mahal was very excited about it. Um, yeah, there were a bunch of people. When I finally met Tamatanga, he was like, "Oh, you're the dude! Like, I remember you from the video." Like, there are a lot of those cool moments. And then a fun one when I finally started. working at the Performance Center. Sami Zayn was there at a time where he was trying to get clear, and he walked up and he's like, "Yo, I just have to tell you that Beautiful Black, the one you did for Black History Month, is one of my favorite pieces of content on the internet." And I was like, "What? That's crazy." Um, and he just sat there and talked about like the importance of Black History Month, but even outside of the month of February, just what we mean to wrestling and what a song like that meant. And I was like, that's what this is for, having these conversations like that. So yeah, there were a lot of people who were excited. I don't remember them all, but
Mm-hmm.
there were a bunch of people. Yeah.
It's so funny that you said that Sami Zayn said that to you, and I think that's amazing. Which makes me feel that Sami Zayn really is as amazing as people say he is.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
like my favorite song that you ever did was the one you did for Bianca Belair this year. Like
Oh yeah.
this one's for the
Yeah.
EST. That one, like that, I listened to that one to gas me up, and it's not even what we're even rapping about. Like, oh my god, like because I love Bianca Belair, and it's just, and you had made a song about her before, but that one coming out after she had won the Royal Rumble and headed into WrestleMania, that one just touched my soul on such a deep level. Like that is my favorite one of yours ever. Like that's the one. Like, oh my
Thank you.
god. Because it just fits her and everything that she is and everything she stands for. And and it was just really emotional for me to sort of watch her rise and to see everything she's done. And your song just kind of just did it. And then along with the video package that they put together with it, it was just inspirational too. So it was just like, man, this is like that is my absolute favorite one that I love
Yeah.
from you is that one because it makes me feel good, and I'm not even Bianca. I'm not even her. But
So the story behind very quick story behind that one, I did something for Survivor Series once. I did something for whatever, different takeovers. And we did one for the Slammy Awards. And they were like, "So what are you gonna do for WrestleMania?" I have no idea. I'll figure out something. And when that match ended, I knew when the Royal Rumble match ended, I knew immediately what I needed to do and what I wanted to do. So I recorded the song. I started getting all the clips for the video, started piecing it together. There were so many moments where I'm just sitting there like, just like
yes.
boo-hoo crying. Um, that's one of there aren't many things that I mean, there are a lot of things that I miss about being at WWE, but having access to a lot of the NXT, files of like being able to go back to 2017 and get this specific clip or get that specific clip. There were so many things that I was able to get that I wouldn't just be able to just pull from YouTube. You know what I mean? Um, so there were a lot of those moments, and there were so much that I left out, but piecing those things together to tell the story through the video was like that was one of my favorite ones to work on as well. And I left some hidden messages in the video too. And I've never explained this ever, but I used a kind of like a computer decoding theme for the video. So there are certain parts where if you pause it, there will be quotes from Bianca. There will be things that Tez has said to her as Montez Ford, and also as himself. There are quotes from, I think, Viola Davis. There are a few other people that like things that she was represent or that influenced her during that time that I just dropped in there at like little 1 second intervals and things like that. Um, that was one of my favorite pieces to create.
See, knowing that you even did all of that aside from just doing the song just makes it mean even more. And now it makes me want to just go back and watch it again.
And
Uh
pause it at all those moments.
yes, like because I've seen some of them, sort of down below. And I was just like, oh man, there's quotes there and I think I need to read, but I want to hear the rest of the song. But now I'm gonna go back and see that and watch that
Yeah.
purposefully now. So you mentioned your work with WWE and doing, songs with them and even doing videos with them. Like, what was that experience even like? Like, in terms of working for WWE and just, what lessons did you learn, and what would you take from that whole experience?
Man, to be ready for anything, anything can happen. Um, every day was different, especially working at the performance center, you know, where NXT is essentially housed out of. There's so much every single day that changes within that building, especially before, COVID and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a good example is the story of how the Cameron Grimes track came together, of just like getting a call from Road Dogg and saying, "Hey, we're gonna do this thing just for fun. Do you want to, can you come up with something?" Like being ready for any and all tasks. Um, and it was unreal. I mean, I remember walking through the first day and like I'm trying to be professional. I'm just saying hello to everybody, but inside I'm like doing this, like what is going on? But realizing that, they're people just like everybody else. They play a character on television, but they're still people. Um, and that now, I'm not at home just coming up with content. I can actually ask Santos Escobar like what this word would mean if I threw it in there, or like, what things he would want me to add to his song, or there's so much that goes into being there. And I would just thinking about it right now, I still get goosebumps, and I'm not even employed. Like I still get goosebumps thinking about being around, all those amazing, amazing people. Um, yeah, it was a great time, a very great time.
Right. And I'm glad that you even had that experience. Like, because I know sometimes it can be kind of unreal whenever you're working anything in wrestling. Because I'm just starting myself, and even in the indies, you have those moments. Because I remember down here in Alabama, there's a all female promotion called the Belladonna Division that just started
Okay.
this year, and I'm a commentator for it. And
Oh, nice. Okay.
yeah, and when I met Jazz, because she's on her retirement tour this year.
Mhm.
And when I met Jazz, when I told you I was trying my best to be professional and asking her, what she wanted me to say about her and everything, but in my soul, like once I finally got home and just got to sit down, I had so much energy flowing through my body that I couldn't even really sleep, because I was just so excited that I was even back there, not even just with her, but with so many women, who travel day in and day out and wrestle all the time, and then they
Yeah.
make room for it. They have regular jobs, but they're also making room for their wrestling careers. And it is just the most beautiful thing. And when you're back there with them, you're just like, man, like I'm back here with these superheroes, asking them, being as professional as possible, but then in your head, you're just like, you're freaking out. So I know exactly kind of how you feel. Like it's just kind of like when you're a fan and you're just at a meet and greet and you're trying to maintain your cool, but you're
Yep.
screaming inside.
There's nothing like it. There's nothing that compares. It's just he's right there. She's right there. It's crazy.
Hmm. Yes, and I know one of my wishes for you was that one day that you would perform at a WrestleMania. That's something that I was manifesting in my soul whenever I remember when I started manifesting it was when you performed with Adam Cole at Takeover 25. And you came out there and you were spitting all that hot fire at the Undisputed Era Sting. And Adam Cole is like, yup, it's me. It's me. And I'm just like, look, if y'all don't put him on WrestleMania, put him on WrestleMania. Do it. Like, just have
Yeah.
him perform with somebody and just make it happen. And
Listen to me. I am ready. Ready.
yes. Yes. So I mean the sky's the limit. Like there's nothing, I feel like anything is possible. So
Mhm.
I'm still manifesting that for you even now. So hey, I mean, you just never know. So I'm really happy that you had that experience and that type of exposure. Even with doing Cameron Grimes' song, even now when he comes out, and hearing your voice, there, it still blesses me. So I'm excited, for your future. So
Me too.
something, yes. Something that I do want to ask you is wrestling is sort of having this beautiful moment with hip hop that they're having, with their little sporadic moments with different rappers and stuff. Like last weekend, you saw Bianca Belair, the SmackDown Women's Champion, taking pictures with Megan Thee Stallion at Lollapalooza.
Yeah.
You had them performing at Rolling Loud, on the stage. And then you also have Snoop Dogg making his little sporadic appearances, even in AEW and WWE, and just doing everything. Um, so how do you feel about and then you had Bad Bunny this year, at WrestleMania as well, even participating as a wrestler. Like, how
Yeah.
do you feel about the seeming budding relationship between hip hop and wrestling now?
It's time. It's long overdue. And I mean, there was a time early in the 2000s where, there was some crossover. 3 6 Mafia performed on like SmackDown or something back in the day, but you know,
Yeah.
there is kind of that gap. And especially, understanding that NXT was birthed to be kind of like the underground metal nightclub that Triple H envisioned it to be, and still probably does envision it to be. But there's a lot of elements to that, right? Like not everyone is represented by metal. And if I stand there and I'm doing this metal track, yeah, it's cool and it'll work, and I'll try to make it work at least. But um, there's a different type of music I feel like that represents us and speaks to us, and being able to kind of see that not just with the guests that come in of, you know, like you said, Bad Bunny, there was a potentially a Cardi B, cameo, we there's so much I can go into that, but even just the characters on television, Hit Row is a thing right now.
Yes.
Max Caster is a thing right now. So there's so much I feel like that we're able to see within the world of wrestling, but within the world of hip hop inside of it. The fact that Wale Mania is one of the biggest and most sought after events, WrestleMania weekend, is huge. That's amazing. So yeah, to see it in and not just in WWE, but across all companies, to see it in AEW, to see it um, everywhere is beautiful. And I only hope that it continues to grow. I would not have expected for them to say, hey, we're going to be doing a women's title match at Rolling Loud. Like that's not something that you can even think of. Uh, you know, and to see stuff like that happening is amazing. So I just hope it continues to grow. And I'm not even gonna say hope. I do believe that it will continue to grow from a on-screen perspective, from a behind-the-scenes view, from fans at home, uh, and from artists who are also, I tell people all the time, I am not the only one. I was not the first one to remix a theme song. There are plenty of people out there. Um, but it all just continues to push forward this culture of hip hop and professional wrestling. So it's dope. That's the answer. It's dope to see.
It really is. And I just remember at the beginning of the year, when I was doing certain episodes of my podcast, I could sort of see it happening, but I didn't foresee all of this. But a part of me was like, bro, it would be so cool if they had an era just like wrestling and rock and roll did in the 80s. And it seems like more and more as the year progresses, it just keeps happening. And it just excites me so much because now I'm more so into hip hop than I ever was. And to see all of these, tie ins with wrestling, it just makes me so happy. And it invites other people in who probably never would have watched wrestling otherwise, because once you combine those two things, a hip hop head who's never watched wrestling would probably give wrestling a chance because of that, and a wrestling fan who's never given hip hop a chance would probably go into that as well. Because I know
Yep.
earlier this week when Ryan Satin did his out of character um interview with Bianca Belair, he was talking about how he had never really heard of Sweetie until Bianca Belair
Oh,
told him
really?
about it. Yeah, and he said he had actually went and listened to her music and realized, that she was actually really cool that way. And Bianca herself talked about how she would love if, a wrestling event would take place, at Essence Fest. And I did, and yeah,
Ooh.
and I just thought that was the coolest idea ever because I mean, the Essence Festival, like an all-female event, to me, I took it a step further and I was like, well, what if there was an all-female event at Essence Fest? That would be
Yeah,
fire.
that
Like
would be fire.
that would be amazing. So I'm really happy that this, marriage hopefully between hip hop and wrestling just stays together and it just continues to flourish and grow. Like it's just been beautiful. And I feel like you're a part of that. You are a part of the reason why it's happening. And I will say that, and die on that hill. Not literally, but yeah, I'll die on that hill. That you're a part of the reason why that's happening. And I'm really glad that's happening. So I want to
Yeah, it's
ask,
exciting.
yeah, I want to ask you, who are your top 5 rappers?
I don't know. I can tell you this. I can tell you this for a fact. Um, Black Thought is in it of uh, the Roots. Black
Mm-hmm.
Thought is in that. Um, Andy Mineo, Christian rapper, is in it for me. I'm just going off of what I like personally, pretty much.
Yeah.
I never get into the, well, are you saying that this person is better than that? I don't know about, I don't know about top 5. I'll give you my favorite 5 at least.
Okay, that works.
Um, Black Thought, Toby Wigwe is in that. Like, and he's not number 5, and that's all I know. Like Black Thought, Toby, Andy. Um, Dang. You see, this is where it gets difficult because now after this, I'm gonna be thinking about, man, I should have said this person, I should have said that person. Um, and I get some love too. There is a rapper named Brittany Carter
Mm-hmm.
who I believe is still independent right now, but I think she will be the queen of rap music very soon. Like she's just, if you don't know Brittany Carter, I'm gonna personally send you her link and just watch this freestyle, and then listen to the projects. Like I'm she's amazing. She's 100% amazing. Um, yeah. And then I'm just gonna cap it with there's a guy who did a project with Mega Ran recently, like within the past few months. I want to say his name is Novelist, and if I said that incorrectly, that's on me. But I heard one song and I said I'm sold, and for me that takes a lot. But when I heard one song by this man, one verse, and I said I'm a fan for life. So those 5. And I'm sure when I get off this call, I'll have 5 more.
Yeah, that's kind of like me. It's like whenever I hear a song that I love on the radio, it's like, oh, that's my song. Oh, that's my song. It's to the point now where
Yep.
my dad's just like, you, when you say your song, it's just supposed to be one. And I'm like, no, I don't just have one song. I don't. Like
Yep.
I
And
have
it can change during the day.
exactly. And then not even just change. It's just like, how can you just pick one favorite song? There's so
Yeah, it's
many.
impossible.
It's just too many. See, I know in my top 5 rappers, I think I like to do just I know Kendrick Lamar is number 1.
Okay.
That's my
Okay.
number 1. J. Cole is my number 2.
Cole is
Um
great.
Wale is my number 3.
Wale is great.
Even though he has a special place in my heart because he's tied to wrestling and he's just that he's the ambassador of rap and wrestling to me, and I just love him. And
Facts.
I saw him
100%.
live. I saw him live, before the pandemic hit, and it was just so great. That was the last concert I went
Yeah.
to, and it was a great concert. I think my number 4 is Drake. And I know that's kind of
Drake.
unpopular to say amongst rap people, but I love Drake. I just love
You
him.
can't you have to give Drake his credit. Like there's no one doing what Drake is doing, and there's no one that has done what Drake has done. You have to give Drake his credit.
Yes. And Of course. And then I definitely love Megan because I just love Megan as a person. And I kind of like her
Yes,
music
yes,
too, but definitely I love her and how solid she is as a person. So those are kind of like my top five. But like you said, they could change, depending on the day.
yeah, yeah.
Just waiting for
I'm gonna
that
give
Kendrick.
you. I'm gonna give you a quick. I don't think this is public, but a huge fan of Meg Thee Stallion, Mr. Malachi Black.
What?
Fact, fact, fact. That's
Oh
all
my
I can say.
god. Oh my god.
Fact.
Oh my god.
I have been in many car rides with this man, and he plays all types of music. I mean, of course, as you would expect, metal. Plays a lot of hip hop. He played a Dolly Parton track for me once. Like he has
Yes.
such a beautiful wide range of music. And what is this song? Hands on my knees. That song.
Yeah, thought-ish.
Yes. Yes. I'm talking like lyrical breakdowns. Like Malachi Black was it thoroughly enjoys Meg. And I had a wonderful conversation about that with him. So it was, yeah, very cool. Very
Yeah,
cool.
that's an exclusive. Oh my god, it's a Hardy
That is an
Wrestling Podcast
exclusive.
exclusive. Oh, I'm
That's an
gonna share
exclusive.
that and it's gonna be so funny about that. That's gonna be one of the best conversations I've had. So
Yes.
who are some of your favorite, wrestlers personally as well?
Um,
Male or female?
Pete Dunne.
Mm-hmm.
Pete Dunne is just one of those people who has the complete package of in the ring, on the mic, the look, the entrance, all of it. Bianca Belair, Keith Lee, same things. Um, I just started getting a bit more into AEW. There's so many people that I could list from there. Orange Cassidy, um, Darby Allin. There's a lot of people. There's like this is always the difficult thing of how do you just not say everybody? But Drew McIntyre for sure. Um, yeah, there are a lot, and I'm also a really big fan of a lot of folks over at NXT UK. And my first weekend with WWE was WrestleMania weekend 2019. So I had a chance to meet everybody. Cena. Uh, I've seen everyone. I don't know if I had more goosebumps than seeing like all of the NXT UK roster walk in at once with these suits and dresses on, and I'm like, those they just look at them. They are kings and queens. They walked in like royalty. How can you not like Tyler Bate? Like, yeah, there's so many people. Another uh yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I could just go on with that list on and on and on, but there are a lot of people.
Okay, so you mentioned you were at WrestleMania 2019. Did you witness Kofi Kingston win the title?
So I was in, how they used to do, or maybe they still do it, the watch along,
Mm-hmm.
where so I was a part of the watch along with Bianca Belair, Montez Ford, Angelo Dawkins, Pat McAfee, and we were all watching the match from the inside. So I wasn't out in the arena, but I was watching it, on TV, and I lost my mind. Like I think I got up and it fell. Like I lost my mind. Ah, I am one of those people who, even if I, at the time, if I'm an employee, I still want to be a fan. Don't
Yes.
tell me nothing. Don't show me nothing. Like, let me experience all of this. And of course, there are some moments, like, especially I'm working behind the scenes at NXT. Like, I have to be able to cover certain things, but like, there are a lot of things that I'm like, I can't. I just need to experience it. I need to witness it. I need to be right here. And that was just a beautiful moment, like an incredible moment.
Yeah, I was at home. Well, I was at home, but I was with my boyfriend, and we were watching it. And okay, here's how my weekend went with it. I was at church the Saturday before WrestleMania, and I was so invested in Kofi Kingston winning that I put on a Ghana flag armband because I've been to Ghana. I've actually been to Ghana, not an armband, but a
Oh,
wristband.
nice.
Yeah, I've actually been to Ghana for study abroad. And, when I found out that that was where he was actually from, I was like, oh, snap. So I wore it to church. And this was also the same Saturday I got baptized because I've been baptized twice. I got baptized
Oh,
again
wow.
that Saturday. And I just went
Okay.
because I just felt like putting that in the atmosphere. And
Yes.
the Sunday he won, I kid you not, when he won and it was 1, 2, 3, I leapt off of the couch, landed on the floor, the wooden floor, mind you. My knees were gone and just started yelling and crying
Yes.
because
Yes.
I was crying
Yes.
so hard. And it's so funny because it's just, I mean, and my boyfriend's best friend was there too. She's not a wrestling fan, so this was all new for her. So she had never seen me react that way to anything. So she was kind of scared. And I'm just like, oh my God, he won. And my boyfriend's like, are you okay? Because I'm on the floor at this point. And so he helps me up and I'm crying and I'm hugging him and just crying and crying some more. And I couldn't focus on anything else because I think it was Triple H and Batista after that match. And I'm looking like I'm spent. Like I can't focus
There's
on
nothing
anything.
else. Like,
And even the women main evented too with Becky and Ronda and Charlotte. And I was happy about that too as a woman. But in my soul, I saw everything I needed to see and I didn't want to
yeah,
see
yeah.
anything else. Because I remember when Kofi debuted, like when he debuted, I loved him immediately because he was just happy and he was bouncing around and he had on all the colors and everything. I loved him from jump. So to see him go that far and finally win at the big show and then having Xavier and Biggie there holding him, it just meant the world
Yeah.
to me and their brotherhood and Xavier doing the Virgo thing and crying just like me. Oh God, it was so wonderful. Like when I
It's
see
the
Xavier go
ultimate, like, you deserve it moment.
Yes, watching Xavier cry made me cry even more because I'm just like, ah! But
Yep.
yeah, I will cherish that for the rest of my life. I feel like the only time I feel like when Bianca won, I also cried, but I feel
I
like
was in tears. I was a wreck.
oh God,
Like, a wreck.
and I was doing a live stream for Women's Wrestling Talk when that happened. Like I was doing a live stream with them, and I was still yelling and crying. I didn't even care. Still didn't care in professional mode, crying, did not
Yeah,
care.
yeah.
But everybody let me have it because it was just there. Now I'm pretty sure if Big E cashes in Money in the Bank and if he wins a title, I'm gonna cry again.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
It's gonna be a hot mess. I'm not gonna have any eyes left. I'm just gonna have to go to bed
yeah.
and just rest. Uh so what does the future hold for you, Josiah Williams?
Future's wide open. Um, I told this to X Pac recently. I was able to live a dream in and not just in WWE, but in a few different places. Count Ring of Honor, count AEW. Like I've been able to live a dream in a bunch of different ways. On screen, in the show, during the commercial breaks, behind the scenes. Like I've had a little taste of almost all of it. Um, I believe like if there is room and if there's an opportunity for me to bounce back somewhere else, that's great. I've had over the past few weeks, I've been doing a lot of behind the scenes for another show, and just having fun and really enjoying it. If if that's where God has me, I'm ready for it. But I said if that was it, if WWE was the end, I will be happy because I was able to do something that I never thought I would be able to do. Um, and I made the most out of every single moment and every single opportunity. Of course, there are moments where I succeeded and there were moments where I failed, but I lived that dream. And it was a very fun, very enjoyable, very educational, life-changing, fun ride. So who knows? I mean, we'll see what happens. But what I do know is that Wrestle and Flow over the next couple of years is going to be thriving. There are a lot of amazing ideas that I have in the works, a couple that are completed, a couple that will take literally years to complete. But there are some really, really, really cool things that I want to be able to do, not just from the standpoint of putting out a song and, you know, getting people to watch it or share it or whatever, but from a merchandise standpoint, I have a series that's dedicated to Black entertainment, Black fans, Black wrestlers, the culture that I'm very, very, very excited about. And when the time is right, we'll unleash that to the world. But ultimately, I just want to create work and create art, whether it's viewable, wearable, shareable, whatever it is, that educates and uplifts people and gives people something positive to see. So we'll see where that'll end up, whether that's in the world of wrestling, whether that's with Nickelodeon. I have no idea. I'm gonna figure out something, and yeah, I'm excited.
Well, Josiah, thank you so much for coming on the Hardy Wrestling Podcast. I have enjoyed our conversation. So tell everyone where they can follow you and find you and just, support your brand and your music and all of the above. Put yourself
Well,
over.
first of all, to the many fans of the HWP, thank you so much for taking your time to listen. Continue to support, continue to share, and continue to be a part of this beautiful community. You can find my work by either searching Josiah Williams, J. Dean Williams, my middle name is Dean, or just Wrestle and Flow on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, my website, J. Dean Williams. You can go on WWE.com. You can go to Peacock and be able to still see some of the stuff that Wrestle and Flow has infiltrated in the professional wrestling world, specifically the world of wrestling entertainment. Yeah, there's so much that you can get into. Just hopefully you don't find anything crazy from when I was in college and shaved my head bald.
We gonna leave that alone. We gonna leave that alone. But thank you so much for coming on my show. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.